evening, and welcome to the Impact Show. I am your host for tonight, Samuel ICanWin ICanWin, and I'm really looking forward to tonight's show for a number of reasons. Most importantly, because this morning I ran a webinar in conjunction with YPN, Your Property Network. I don't know if you've heard of YPN. If you have heard of YPN, you know exactly who I'm talking about. It's one of the biggest property investment publications in the UK, and I was their main speaker on a webinar this morning. And the funniest thing about that was this morning's webinar just made me realize the same thing I've been realizing throughout this current climate, and that is people are looking for help. Okay, and guys, you know, there's no other way to basically say it. There's no other way to beat around the bush, because I'd be lying if I was beating around the bush. The reality is, right now in this current season, in this current climate, people are looking for help. So just before we get straight into tonight's show, what I'd like to say is welcome. If you're tuning in to the Impact Show for the first time, just write in the comments first time. And if you're back again, feel free to write back again in the comments so I know who is with us tonight on the show. So first and foremost, before we get into it, in a moment, like I said, like I always say, I'm going to open up the telephones. We're going to be here. We're going to be available and listening to people who have specific challenges in the current climate and would like some help. And this is how this show actually came about. This is just me being 100% transparent. We had a number of people reaching out. You know, some of them were my coaching clients. Some of them were other people I knew from other places who were basically saying that they're struggling in their current property journey. And as a result of them struggling in their current property journey, what they were looking for was help. They were looking for someone who could help them, someone who could help them to navigate, someone who could help them to strategize, someone who could help them to take their property journey effectively to the next level. All right, great to see you guys who have said back again in the comments. So because they were looking for that, the key for us was how could we help them to find exactly what they're looking for? How could we help them to move forward in their property journey? And, you know, we came up with the idea, me and my team, strategy in a storm. And it was just that simple, because right now in the current climate, for many people, it is effectively a storm. So the key was, in this particular climate, in this particular storm, how could we help people to move forward so that they wouldn't have to go through what so many people are currently going through? They wouldn't have the stress, the drama of, you know what, I'm losing properties. You know, I remember reading in one specific WhatsApp group, okay, and this was kind of one of the things, you know, they say the straw that broke the camel's back. This was one of the things that really got me. I jumped into a specific WhatsApp group that I'm a part of, all about entrepreneurship, all about development and finance and, you know, personal development, all of those things. And whilst I'm in this WhatsApp group, I basically see something which really unsettled me. It was a specific individual who was sharing about their service accommodation business. And what the lady basically said is she has lost £10,000 that specific month. Okay, not that year, not that week. Okay, the moment lockdown basically took place, that specific month, she mentioned that she had lost £10,000, and that got me. It I don't know if the word is irked, but it got me. It made me start to think, well, hold on a minute. Like, if someone's going to lose £10,000 in a month, like, how many other people are there like that? How many other people are losing, you know, exorbitant amounts of money as a result of things that they probably didn't prepare for? Because in their mind, they probably thought, how could you prepare for that, for example? So for me, you know, that was one of the big things which really made me, it kind of set me off, if I'm going to be honest with you. And it made me think, you know what, how can we actually help these people? How can we get people in a better position than the position they were actually in because of the lockdown and all of the other things that were taking place at that moment? So the key for me was help people. Strategy in a storm. Why don't you get out of your own way, Samuel? Make yourself more available as you usually do, and just let people know that you're here to help. Now, look, I'm going to say this to you guys. Granted, most of you will probably know this already. I can't take every single WhatsApp, every single call, every single, you know, request that people have sent me. You know, I'll give you an example. I had this guy reach out to me yesterday via Facebook Messenger. This guy's never met me in his life. And again, it's not a negative. I'm just telling you how it is, guys. And this gentleman says to me over Facebook Messenger, he's asking me all of these questions. And in my mind, I'm thinking, you know what? I really like to help you, but I just don't have the time. If I spend all my time helping you, I won't be able to A, help other people, or B, even do what I've got to do for myself. So as a direct byproduct, I had to say to that gentleman, listen, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to encourage you to jump on the strategy in the storm. I'm going to encourage you to go to our Facebook channel. I'm going to encourage you to go and look for help through these other avenues also. So guys, the reason I'm sharing this with you is because I want you to understand that, look, I'm here to give value. I'm happy to give value. I want to give value, but there's only so much you can do. And this is why we decided to have this show, because the key to this show is to help other people by making myself available and allowing me to work with those people to strategize so we can have some strategy in the midst of the storm. Now, without further ado, what I'm about to do is make the show as live as you can get, and we are going to go straight to open up the phone line. So as usual, telephone numbers there, access code is there. It doesn't matter what time of day. If we're going to do it, we're going to do it, and we're going to do it properly. So the phone lines are open. If you have a specific challenge, issue in your property journey, and you're trying to strategize with someone who has a bit more experience than you, and you want to get some kind of ideology, some idea about how to move forward in your property journey, now is the time, guys. All right, so we're making the lines available and open to anybody who wants to jump on. So feel free to just call. If you do call, here's a bit of the housekeeping. The telephone line is going to have some hold music. You're just going to have to hold for a minute or two, and the moment I hear your call come through, I will basically take on your call and the team will route it through to me. Now, housekeeping for the general show. If you haven't hit like, let YouTube know that this is some good content. If you haven't hit subscribe. Make sure that you get notified every single time we're about to go live, and also every single Monday for our videos that drop. Quick question to those of you who are actually viewing right now: who saw the video we dropped this week? Okay, because the video we dropped this week was extremely impactful. We got a whole bunch of people giving us feedback from that video, and I know that video was adding value to people in the community. So I'm interested in knowing who watched that video and if they got value from it, from those of you who are live with us tonight. Now, property challenges. Okay, I want to start tonight by also opening up the chat. So if you're watching this video and you've got questions, feel free to start throwing them through the chat as well. Predominantly, we will always prioritize the comments that come through on the telephone. Reason being is because those people have basically complied with the format that makes it easier for us to manage everybody's calls, etc., etc. So if you do have a specific issue you want us to strategize with you through, it is easier for us if you're calling through. It just helps the housekeeping, but no qualms, we're open to chat messages as well. So if you've got chat messages, feel free to put them in the chat box and we'll be happy to work with you through them also. Now, as we're just getting ready, excellent, we got everything in place and I think we're all good right now. Perfect. All right, good stuff. So we're all set up and ready to get any calls that do come in. So if you've got a call, feel free to call in. Now, also, I spoke a moment ago about hitting the like button and pressing subscribe. The other thing I will say is if you got people in your community who are similar to what I've described earlier, losing 10K a month right now because of the current climate, why don't you hit share? Okay, just find someone in your community and say to them, look, you need to be on this show. This is the Impact Live show. This show's created to help you strategize through a storm. You might have certain challenges, but there's no need for you to go through those challenges on your own. We've got Samuel ICanWin who's out here, happy to help you, happy to give some value where he can. And side by side with that, we've also got all of the other people on the live. One of the great things about last week's live was we had a particular question from somebody, and we actually had someone in the comments who was actually giving answers as well, who was actually trying to help and support as well. And this is what it's about, guys. It's about the benevolent circle. It's about helping everybody supporting each other and helping each other go forward in their property journey. So we're here to help, here to add value, here to push people to the next level. So as I've mentioned, if you got questions, feel free to phone. The telephone line is up here above, as well as the access code that you will need to use in order to get into the room, the caller room that we're actually in. And side by side with that, you can see in the comments that we are open for you guys to throw any comments in. There you go. All right, now, whilst we're just kind of moving forward, before anybody puts any comments and any questions, I want to start opening up an opportunity for people to start to understand a little concept. Now, this concept that I'm going to share with you guys is a concept that I felt very important to share because of a coaching call I had this week. So this week, I don't even remember which day it was because we're Friday now. I've had a whole hectic week. But one of my coaching calls this week was very, very interesting. Okay. And what basically happened in the coaching call is we got to a specific part of the coaching call. And the coachee said something very interesting to me. Okay. They said to me, look, Samuel, sometimes people just need to know the facts. Okay. And they don't want the rhetoric. They just want to know the facts. And I said to the coaching client, I said, you know what, you're absolutely right. I said, so what's not clear? Is there anything that's not clear? And there was a few things that was mentioned to me as in these things were not clear. So I said, you know what, let's do this. Let's clarify on the coaching call. So first and foremost, you are very, very clear on what's basically going on, etc., etc. We've got a caller, please bear with us one moment. Let's clarify things on the coaching call, and straight after clarifying on the coaching call, the next thing we're going to do is let's make sure that there's a clear understanding for everybody, okay? And the best way to make a clear understanding for everybody is to offer more value and to open up the opportunity. So we're going to be doing that as well. And on Monday, we're going to be running a webinar. So for anyone who's interested in that webinar, just go into the description of this video and you can start to register for that webinar. It's a brand new webinar, absolutely brand new content. And later on in the show, I will speak to you guys about what that webinar and show and content is all going to be about. So let me jump on the phone and see who we've got calling in. Just quickly, let's see if we can make this happen. Hello, good evening. Good evening. I'm talking to 969. Let's see if we can fix this quickly. Hello, caller 969. Hello, caller 969. I can hear you, but your volume is really, really low. I'm just about to put you on so everyone else can hear you as well, but your volume's really low. So you might have to turn up your volume a little bit for me, please. Let me try something on my side as well. Just stay there with me. Let me try something real quick. Let's see if this works. Try say something again. Not sure what's going on today. Usually we have no problems with the callers coming through. Hello, caller 969. Yes, I can hear you. I've just turned it up on my side. Let's see if that works. Who am I speaking with? Sabina? Oh, Abina. Abina. Hi, Abina. Apologies. The volume is really, really low. Um, Can you see if you can turn it up on your side? Guys, if you're watching this, can you just let us know if you can hear Abina, please? Because you might be able to hear Abina much better than I can hear Abina. So just let us know if you can hear Abina. Abina, can you hear me properly? Excellent. Please make sure that you stay on the phone rather than on YouTube because YouTube slightly has a 3 second delay. So just for us to have a good conversation, you're going to need to stay with me on the phone, but hopefully that should be fine. All right. So you can hear me clearly. The volume for you is a bit low, but let's just try and do this to the best of our ability. So Abina, first and foremost, great to have you on. Let us know what your challenge is. Okay. Yep. I didn't hear the last bit. You said she has basically most of them are in negative equity, and then after that, I didn't hear what you said next. I'm not hearing you at all right now, Bina. It sounds like the volume's even cut out completely. Can you still hear me? Hi, Abina. Excellent. Much better. Much better. I've got you properly now. So you can still hear me perfectly as well, yes? All right, excellent. I do apologize. All right, I don't know what was going on with that. Guys, those of you who are viewing, let us know in the comments if you can hear Abina properly. So, Abina, just before what we're going to do, we're going to go through all of that again. I do apologize just so that I can hear you properly and know everything you're asking about. First thing I want to say to you is, are you happy for the people, the viewers of the YouTube world and the world to hear what you're going to share with me? Excellent, because hopefully they're all going to hear you. And then secondarily, are you happy for them also to hear what I'm going to share with you as a result of what you share with me? Excellent, absolutely fantastic. So again, like I said earlier, I know I couldn't hear you properly, but it's absolutely great to have you on, Abina. Let us know what your current challenge is. You mentioned a lady who has 20 properties in Blackburn. Yep, yep, yep. Okay, what's the problem and the challenge? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So says So how did you connect with her in the first place? Is this through some marketing campaign or something else? Okay, amazing, amazing. All right. So basically, if guys, you haven't written any comments to let me know if you can hear Abina, but just in case you can't hear Abina, the situation is Abina has met someone through a property event. This person has 20 properties in the Blackburn area, and they're mostly negative equity. Some of the stuff that I picked up from what Abina was saying initially, and as a result, Abina's looking at potentially doing a lease option with the lady. All right, so what's what do you need help with, Abina? How can we help you in that regard? Yep. Okay. Okay. So when is the potential divorce planning to be going through? Like, because obviously it's easy to say when someone gets a divorce, but obviously, there's usually a timeline which corroborates with that. So do you know anything in terms of the information about that? Okay. Okay. So she's already alluded to you that she'd prefer to have her divorce finalized before she sells any of these properties. Yeah. Yep. 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 So you've already kind of alluded to her about the lease option, and she's basically said she'd prefer to do it after divorce. Yeah. Okay. So what's your challenge in that regard? Like, what's what are you not sure about? What's your thoughts going forward, etc.
Thinking, do I do an email like saying, oh, this is what I can offer? Because I've got a spreadsheet of like the properties, how much they're worth, how many bedrooms, whether they're freehold, leasehold, the ROI and stuff. So it's about me saying what I can offer in terms of, am I interested in buying any of them, or am I interested in selling them on, or if I can offer a lease option agreement on some of them. So it's about, do you think the best way is to put it all into an email?
Okay. The answer to that is no. Okay. So just for the
Yeah,
viewers, I believe the team sorted everything now, so you should be able to hear Abina and myself. And like I said, hit like if you haven't hit like already, hit subscribe if you haven't hit subscribe already. So for those of you who didn't hear the beginning of the call, Abina's called in. And Abina's basically said she's met a lady in a property event. This particular person has 20 properties in the Blackburn area, was it?
yeah,
Yeah, excellent. So the person's got 20 properties in the Blackburn area. Now, Abina said most of these properties are negative equity. As a result, the lady's interested in selling. Abina's basically indicated that she's offered loosely, tentatively, a lease option agreement to the lady, and the lady has basically said that she'd prefer to finish her divorce, which is her primary pain point right now, before considering a lease option, but she would be interested in selling right now. So Abina's question is, how do you think is the best way to kind of approach this? Is it to basically put all the information in a email, or is there some other approach that you would take? So is that a good summary of the question, Abina?
yeah. I mean, she did say that we can meet after, obviously after all this lockdown is over, we can meet for a coffee.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, in the interim, I'm just thinking of the best way to, go forward.
Perfect. So my question is, why wait? Okay. And when I say that, I mean, why wait until lockdown's over when a lot of the information you need, you can probably get now. Okay. Thank you, Mrs. ICanWin. Thank you, Yogesh, for your comments. Yeah, like why wait? Because, and the reason I say why wait is because of something very, very simple. You're in a predicament right now where potentially, okay, and I say potentially because it is potentially, you could wrap up a really strong deal for yourself and put yourself in a really good position moving forward in terms of property rather than waiting. So you could ask her for the details on her portfolio. And from asking her for the details on her portfolio, you can start running the numbers to start to see which of these properties are good deals for you and which of these are not good deals for you. Basically, what we call a portfolio assessment. Straight after carrying out a portfolio assessment, you can then basically make an offer to her like you're interested in doing. But my advice to you would be this: if it was me in your predicament, again, guys, you got to take your own advice, go seek legal counsel, etc., as we say in the disclaimer in the video. But if it was me in this predicament, what I would actually be doing is I would not be engaging via email in order to communicate in this situation. I would be calling the person, especially if you've got their contact details. I'd be on the phone to her. I'd be clearly explaining to her the benefits, the pros, the cons of going round down this particular route with yourself, and I'd be trying to close the deal before lockdown is even over. That's me personally. People are different, but that's the approach I'd be taking. Yeah. And I guess the question I'd throw out to you as well,
Yeah.
Abina, in terms of thinking about this is, what is your hesitation in this transaction? Because even as you're sharing about it, I pick up a kind of slight hesitation about this transaction. So I guess the question I'd ask you is, what's your hesitation about this particular transaction?
Um, so to me, the deals look like they'll be really good lease option properties.
Yep.
Um, in terms of buying them, um, I don't think I'm interested in buying any at the moment.
Okay.
And they're already negative equity,
Mm-hmm.
and I doubt it that she'll be interested in selling them below market value.
Okay. So have you considered a staggered sell? Have you considered an exchange with delayed completion? Have you considered some other approach? And the reason I say that is because I'll give you an example. I was talking to a landlord recently who has a number of properties. They were interested in selling those properties. The conversation I had with them went down the route of an option agreement. We started with a lease option, then transitioned into an option agreement because that seemed like the best framework to help them in their particular point of need. And long story short, they basically said to me, why don't you just buy the first one outright and then do the other two on an option? So effectively, what we call that is a staggered sell. So I guess what I'm saying to you is, have you considered exploring some of the other routes with the landlord or with the seller, like, and just saying to them, what do you need right now? And the reason I'm saying this is because, let me even go back a step
Mm.
before I come into this. The reason I mentioned I wouldn't be sending an email from the onset is because if you haven't got to a place where A, there's enough rapport, or B, you're very clear about what the actual seller wants, you shouldn't be engaging in writing factual emails. Because the problem with an email,
Mhm.
problem with a text message, problem with a WhatsApp text, problem with any written communication is it lacks every other thing that we love as human beings. This is the reason why we don't run the impact show via Facebook text, for example. I don't just put up a text and say, guys, who's got a property question? I'm here to answer it. Because the issue is, hearing someone's emotion, hearing someone's energy, seeing someone's face, seeing, facial expressions, seeing so many small micro things make a massive difference. Okay, guys, if you're watching this and you agree with that, could you write in the comments, I agree? Okay, if you agree with that, write in the comments, I agree. Because this is the way things work, Abina. We're social creatures. We were created to engage with one another. So for example,
No, 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 it's true. I agree.
perfect. So just as an example, you calling, you're gonna always get more value out of strategizing with someone on a call than you would through text. Okay, and that's just the way the world works. So you have to think to yourself, okay, if things work like that, what's the best way for me to communicate with this vendor? And I would say, you're talking about meeting up. And obviously, under certain circumstances, you may not be able to meet up. So the second caveat might be having a video call, a Zoom, a Skype meeting, and then after that is having a telephone call, good old telephone conversation. Yeah,
Yeah,
is
yeah,
that
yeah. I mean, she
helpful?
sent me all the Yeah, it's helpful. She sent me the Excel spreadsheet with all the breakdown of every single property as well.
Good. And have you have
So
you
it's just
conducted a
about
portfolio review yet?
yeah, I've looked at it. I've got everything's there.
Okay. And based on what you've looked at, what are the numbers like? Like, what kind of deals are you looking at there? Are they deals which are going to have a good return on investment, or
Yeah, a lot of them are like around 20%.
20% ROI? Yeah.
Yeah,
And is that with the lease option being used, or that's with a actual purchase?
that will be with a purchase.
Okay, so if you've got a 20% ROI, I guess my question is, why wouldn't you just buy that? Okay, we got another caller on. Could the second caller just hold on, and we'll get you on in a moment. But yeah, Abina, why wouldn't you just buy the properties if you've got a 20% ROI? Unless I guess a better question to ask you is, do you have a return on investment threshold? Do you know what?
No, 20% is good.
Okay, cool. So why don't you just buy the
Yeah,
properties?
20% above is good.
So
I'll
in that,
think about that. Yeah,
okay, so this comes back to what I was talking about earlier, the hesitation. What's stopping you from just buying those properties?
I have to look a bit more into Blackburn. Sorry, because I just I'm not too familiar with that place and
Okay.
like
Okay. Well, look, I'm going
yeah.
to tell you this. I've got a team that operate just outside of Blackpool. If you're interested, connect with me. Send me an
Not
email.
Blackpool, Blackburn.
Okay, Blackburn, somewhere different. So unfortunately, my team aren't just outside of there. But what I'd say is there's gonna be multiple investors in different places who can work with you on that. So first thing you need to do is do your due diligence around the area. Make sure that you're comfortable dealing with that area, dealing with people who are gonna be your tenant type, etc. And after you've done your due diligence and research on that area, then you should be speaking to the seller. You like what I'd say to you is you shouldn't be speaking to the seller if you haven't done your due diligence about the area. And if they've already sent you effectively their portfolio sheet, then you should be in a good position right now to be able to move forward with that. Yeah, is that been helpful?
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right,
Thanks a
excellent.
lot.
Yeah, you're welcome. Great speaking to you again, Abina, and look forward to catching up in the future. All right. Okay, guys. So we've got another caller. I'm just about to take caller number two. Caller number two. This is 9706. 9706. Good evening, caller 9706. It's hello, caller 9706. Hello. So the caller is on, but I can just hear myself in the background on YouTube. So caller 9706.
Oh, hi. Sorry.
Yogesh?
It's Yogesh. Yeah, well done.
Hi Yogesh, how you doing?
uh, I'm good. I'm good. Sorry about the delay. I was listening to you on YouTube. Hadn't
You,
realised
no
the
problem.
phone is
Like I
quicker.
mentioned,
I'm good, thanks.
like I always try to
Yeah.
mention on the show, it's one of the hardest things to remember to stay on the phone and not on the YouTube. But that's all good. Housekeeping out of the way. So, guys, before we go into Yogesh's question and answer and strategy, what I want you guys to do, like I said, housekeeping, hit the like button, press subscribe, and also share this video with any single person you think will get value out of the strategy in the Storm session. This is why we do this, to add value. So, good evening, Yogesh, and you know the drill. I asked you last time you called in. You're happy for everyone to hear the information.
Yeah.
You're also happy for people to hear what I share with you. Open it up, Yogesh. What is your question? How can we help you?
Thank you very much. Firstly, thanks so much for doing these late night calls because I'm usually at work, so
Wow.
timing's great for me. And because I'm a doctor, so life
Yep.
is busy for me at the moment.
Let me
So
let
I
me
appreciate it a lot.
let me share something with you as well, Yogesh. It's powerful you just said that, okay? Because Abina, who called in just now, mentioned to me
Yeah.
previously that she kept missing a lot of the live shows because of the fact that she actually works in the health profession as well. Okay, and those of you,
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah.
Okay.
So because she works in the health profession as well, she was mentioning, that she was missing a number of the shows as well. So this is one of the reasons why, even though it's late, we still say let's jump on. So yes, Yogesh, you're welcome. It's a pleasure. Let's strategize.
So I've got this HMO in East Croydon that I
Yep.
just converted a few months ago.
Hmm.
The current tenants are not paying market rent.
Okay.
They're historical tenants from 2-3 years ago,
Okay.
and they allowed me to convert the house around them. They're nice people, but obviously I want to get the market rent
Yep.
for the house. Now, there's a bit of psychology about this, I think, in my mind, but right now viewings are tricky and things are quiet in terms of getting tenants in and things like that.
Yeah.
I'm of the nature of getting these kind of social housing companies in, and then
Okay.
they lease out the house from you for 3 years, and that's headache-free for me. So I guess I have tried to look for these people, but I'm busy. But I found one or two. I'm a bit worried about starting to do viewings, because these tenants go a few ways. One, they know they can't be evicted, so they might just dig their heels in.
Yep. Very true.
Two, I may not find someone in the next 2-3 months whilst things are difficult, and so the tenants might leave, and I might have an empty property with no
Yep.
rent.
Yep.
And three, I'm a little bit nice, so they've been quite good people to me, so I feel a bit bad about kicking them out, I guess.
Yep.
So it's a mental thing.
Yep.
And I need to sort it out. Basically, I want the best money I can get for my property.
Yep.
But
Let me ask you this question before you go
can't
on.
seem
Are
yeah,
you sure?
yeah. Am I sure I want the best money?
Yes. And it's a question I usually ask someone I'm coaching if they say something like that to me. So I get coaches say stuff like that to me. I want the most money for my property. I want the best money for my property. So the question I usually ask is, are you sure?
As long as it's hassle-free, yes.
Okay. So there's a
I'm
caveat.
sure.
Okay, that's important. All right, guys. You know what? If you're watching this, guys, what I want you to do is just put in the comments if you want the best money for your properties as well. Okay, so if you want the best money for your property, if you want the most amount of money you can get for any property you own or any property you intend to own, just write in the comments, I want the best or I want the most or whatever you want. Okay, let me know in the comments if you want the most money for your properties as well. All right, so Yogesh, I guess two things are in order right now. One is for me to kind of summarize your comments, but then two, also to kind of
Okay.
really key in and ask the question, you know, how do we help? Like, what is it you really want to strategize around? So I understand that. I guess I'll ask a few questions to actually even elaborate it for all of us, for the viewers, for myself as well. So you've got a HMO. Now, how long ago did you buy this HMO?
I bought it as a family home,
Yep.
and I extended it and got
Yep.
a license in January.
Okay. January. All right, cool. So this means that those tenants, you inherited them. Is that correct?
My letting agent found them before
Yeah.
it was an HMO, and they let it
Okay.
out as a family.
Okay. Okay. Excellent. 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 All right. Cool. So basically, you've got these tenants. These tenants are in the house. The way that things are basically working out is they've been kind of good to you in a sense, and because they've been kind
Yeah.
of good to you, what you want is you basically have this inclination within yourself that, you know, I want to keep these tenants in the house because they've been good to me. But side by side with the fact that you want to keep them because they've been good to you, you also have in your mind that, hold on a minute, I want the best amount of money for my property also. But it's also a tricky scenario right now. It's a tricky climate. So the question is, what do I do right now in this current climate in order to take maximum advantage of the opportunity and get the most amount of money when I still have these kind of hang-ups around kind of, you know, the viewings and all of that stuff right now because of the current climate, right? Is that a good
Yeah,
summary?
correct.
All right, cool.
I think it's the emotional impact of it all, but yeah, that's a good summary. Yeah.
All right, cool. So if it's about emotions, that's something I can definitely talk to you about. And I'll say this to you, and you know, this isn't just fresh. This stems from what I said to you a moment ago. Do you really? You know, some people say they want something, okay, but the reality is they don't really want what they say they want. Okay. And again, this is not me saying this is the situation with you. I wouldn't know, but I'm giving you an indication from myself. I've learned this about myself, and then I've started to see that this is actually how most people are. Okay. So some people say, I want a Ferrari, for example, or an Aston Martin, or whatever it is. You might have your own little, you know, interesting car that you say you want to have, or your own interesting house that you say you want to have, for example. But the question is, you really know when someone wants something when they would do whatever it takes to go and get that thing. Okay. So they might like that thing, they might be interested in that thing, but to actually really want something, a lot of the time, you're going to go out of your way, do whatever it takes in order to get what you actually want. And a lot of people don't do that because there's a group of people who are taught to not go and do what they have to do to get what they want. And most people can be like that at times, but the reality is someone who's got that fire in their belly, who's really keen to go out there and get every single thing they want, they will do whatever it takes. Now, the first thing you got to get around in terms of the emotions is just understanding from yourself, within yourself, do you really want the most amount of money? Okay. Now, because some people don't really want the most amount of money, okay, even though they say they do. And I'll give you an example, okay. We've got this adage that we share, me and a few of my property friends. I was speaking to one of my property friends about this the other day, and I said this to them. I said, it's better to have no tenant than to have a bad tenant. Okay. Now, let me explain this to you because most people who are watching this will probably understand what I'm talking about already, but let me elaborate. Okay. It's better to have no tenant than to have a bad tenant. Okay. A bad tenant, someone who's not going to pay your rent. Okay. I'll give you an example of a tenant I've had before. I had a tenant who didn't pay rent in one of our HMO rooms for 11 months. Okay. Now, yes, I was very fortunate. The room that he was renting was one of the smallest rooms in the house. Yes, I was fortunate. It was only roughly £450 a month. That doesn't matter. The reality is that £450 a month times by 11 is a amount of money. And it's amount of money that I intended when I originally bought that property, when I originally got into that deal, which I originally intended to have coming into my pocket and not going into the EFA or Rosmo, or, you know, or somewhere else. I hope that all makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was that experience with that specific tenant which helped me realize something. What it helped me realize is I didn't want the most amount of money. I wanted the most secure or guaranteed amount of money. Does that make sense? Okay. So this
Yeah.
goes
I'm the
back
same.
excellent, excellent. So this goes back to the adage I was saying earlier about it's better to have no tenant than a bad tenant. I would have preferred now with hindsight, and they say hindsight is 2020, interesting year we're in, but I would have preferred with hindsight to have not let that particular HMO room to that tenant than to have let it to him and spent 11 months, well, let's call it 9 of those 11 months going through the court process in order to evict this individual. Okay. Now, if you're exactly the same, like you just indicated you're the same, this is why it's so important when I ask that question, are you sure? Because again, I'm not asking the question, are you sure, to trick you to trick you. I'm asking the question, are you sure, for you to start doing what we call soul searching. And everybody understands what soul searching is. Soul searching is just reflecting, pondering. In teaching, we used to call it metacognition, thinking about your thinking. Thinking about the fact that you think you want the most amount of money when really you might not want the most amount of money. You might just want a good amount of money so that you know that your return on investment for that asset makes sense, and everything above that is a caveat. Now, that's generally my temperament. Okay, if I do the numbers on the last call, I was speaking with Abina spoke about a 20% return on investment, and I asked her a simple question: do you have an investment threshold? If your investment threshold, for example, is 15% return on investment, and you've got an opportunity to get a 20% return on investment, then the question is, you're actually breaking your investment rules to not go for that 20% return on investment. You could say, oh, well, it's out of the area. Okay, is that one of your investment rules? For some people, it's not. Okay, so the key to what we're talking about here in terms of the emotions, Yogesh, and you kind of jumping that hurdle, from my perspective, is you starting to do some soul searching and start asking yourself, well, do I really want top dollar or do I really want secured dollars? And now think about who you've got in the house. I've got tenants who are paying me a secured income every single month. Now, please hear this as well. I'm not saying this to say nobody should ever go for new tenants because their existing tenants have been paying every single month. No. Okay. But what I am saying is, when you go for those new tenants, you have a choice. You have a choice to put out ads at the highest rate. Okay. And potentially, from putting your ads out at the highest rate, have a smaller pool of people that are going to come and start looking for your room, or to put an ad at a slightly more attractive rate, and as a result have a larger pool of people that are going to come in order for you to vet them. But the key to this, Yogesh, and this is what I've learned in my experience in terms of property, the key to successful money making from rent in property is successful tenant vetting. Okay, that's the key. The key is nothing else. The key is successful tenant vetting. It's not the price you put your property for, even though that's a great way to get a larger pool of people that you can vet to actually rent your room or rent your house. But the key is successful tenant vetting. If you learn how to vet tenants effectively, that's when you end up with the key tenants, the right tenants in your property. And as a direct byproduct, that then has a financial knock-on effect, i.e. you end up with money every single month rather than stress and headache, etc., etc. So yeah, does that help in terms of the emotions and things you've been thinking about?
Not really.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's fine.
Being honest.
Don't be sorry.
Let me give you figures. So maybe these tenants are paying about 1,500 a month, and I
Say that again.
kind of been offered
1,500?
1,500 a month.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
For a 6-bed HMO.
Which is
I've
very
been
low.
offered about very low. So I've been offered about 3,000 or 3,300, but not guaranteed. It's kind of subject to them viewing and probably me doing some works. And these companies, I know, I've done some due diligence, but I don't know them as a track record. So, because of the times, it's easy for me to just ignore it all and sit back and collect the low rent and not worry, think about it. That's easy.
I wouldn't do that. That's way. How much is your mortgage on that property?
Yeah. There's a large deposit in there, so I'd say about 800-900.
All right, so your mortgage is £900.
Breaking even type thing.
Yeah, see, if you're breaking even, look, the question is, why did you get into property? Did you get into property to break even? If there's anyone in the comments who got into property to break even, please write that in the comments, okay? Because I tell you now, for free, on the live show, property is not the game for anyone who's thinking about that. Like, Yogesh, I don't know anybody. Let me use that statement. I don't know anybody.
No.
Go on.
I agree with what you're saying. So they offered to pay 2,700 pre-COVID.
Yep.
But they said they can't get any work, so they can't afford it, so they won't.
So were they unemployed when they took on the property?
No. They got good jobs and etc. They're builder type people.
Okay.
So so I was happy with the 2,700, but they only just this month have said they're going to go back to the original rent and they won't sign a new contract.
Okay, so let me clarify. Tell me if I'm right or wrong. Because you mentioned the agent got them in before. So the agent got them in whilst the house was still a single let. Then you did the refurbishment. When it was a single let, they were paying 1.5. You did the refurbishment with them kind of in the property or as promised tenants. Then after you completed the refurbishment, you now have a 6-bedroom HMO, and they're now agreed at this stage to pay 2,007 a month. However, because of the scenario currently, they've then deferred and said, oh well, we're not going to be able to pay that from this month. They're going to go back to the 1,500.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
All right. Now, the reason you're in that situation is because of psychology. Okay. Now, what I mean by that is this: psychologically, in their mind, you know, and I've got a business partner on one of my properties, which I've done this with before. Okay. And I'll give an example. We had a tenant who called us up and was like, oh, I'd like to buy a wardrobe for my room. The wardrobe in my room has broken. It's a HMO room. The wardrobe in my room is broken. Can I just pay it and take it out of the rent and pay you like whatever amount of rent less? Okay. And my business partner said, yeah, look, I told the guy to do it. And I said, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. I actually called the tenant and said to the tenant, pay the full amount of rent. Okay. We'll buy the wardrobe and we'll send you the money. Okay. Now, the reason I said that, okay, some people say it doesn't make a difference. Financially, it's the same. No, there's human psychology in everything. Does that make sense? Yeah. So for me, it's more important that as humans, with my tenants anyway, that they get in their psychology. Every single month, I have to pay Samuel this amount of money. That's more important to me than me having to go and be inconvenienced to have to send someone else money. Okay, because I need that in their psyche. I need them in their subconscious, which, you know, if you've read any psychology or some good personal development, you will learn that after we do things repeatedly, it becomes our subconscious nature. So what's happened with you is because these tenants have paid 1,005 an X amount of time, and now they might have paid 2,007 once or twice or maybe not even yet. What's actually happened is all they're doing is defaulting back to what psychologically they feel they can bargain with you. Okay. Now, if I was in your shoes, okay, and based on how I would have structured that, I wouldn't have been in your shoes in the first place. But if I ended up in your shoes, this is what I would do. I would have challenged them at the point where they referred back to 1,005. And I would have said to them, the market value currently is 3,300. I have people who are offering me 3,300. And unless you're willing to pay the 2,700, I am fully aware of the government guidelines that there is an eviction holiday and I can't legally evict you right now. But what I will do is serve you the eviction notice right now. And if I serve you the eviction notice right now, what that means is the moment the eviction holiday is over, your paperwork will be the first set of paperwork inside of Croydon, Hammersmith, whatever council it is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is the approach I would have taken. And I would have, similar to what I did with my business partner, I would have stopped it at the buck. I wouldn't have allowed it to become a, oh yeah, we're going back to the older rent. Oh no, listen, oh yeah, but COVID. Oh yeah, no. I would have stood my ground because you have an agreement, or you should have an agreement in principle. Okay. And having an agreement in principle, going down the route you took, then there should be some kind of documentation, hopefully, and in a moment you could tell me if there is or isn't. There should be some kind of documentation which you've signed and they've signed, which stipulates at a certain trigger, 2007 is the rent due, and they are now defaulting on a contract. Okay, so what I would now do is I'd remind them of that. Okay, thank you for all the comments, guys. Brilliant tip, very valuable, fantastic, nice. But guys, look, this is the reality. This is what I would do now. Just to add a bit more value to you, Yogesh, on this before we push forward. Okay. Now, this is a shout out. Okay. Because I didn't come up with this. Okay. And some of you who are watching this, you'll know who I'm talking about. So Stephanie Taylor, okay, one of the angels from HMO Heaven, who are a HMO company who operate out of Wales, okay, and they do a lot of HMO and rent-to-rent training. So if you're not aware of them, write that name down: HMO Heaven, Stephanie Taylor, and her sister Nikki, okay, and you can let them know that Samuel let you know about them from the Impact Live show. Basically, she put something out on social media a couple of weeks back, okay, in the middle of the crisis. And she basically said, this is what we've been doing in order to minimize our financial deficit from tenants not paying in this particular season, okay? Now, I'm going to be totally transparent with you. Okay, the message she left was a very long message on social media. But after she left that message, a member of my team saw that message and came and said to me, Samuel, have you seen what Stephanie put out? And obviously we've got tenants, so we were interested in finding ways to reduce, our potential losses. And I say keyword potential losses during the period. And after the member of the team alluded to this thing, the member of the team basically said to me, look, Samuel, I think we could use this. And I was like, you know what? I think we could use this as well. And we basically used the exact same strategy that Stephanie had alluded to in her message. And I'm going to read something to you right now. I'm going to read to you my Facebook Messenger testimonial that I sent to Stephanie, and I said to her she can use anywhere she wants. All right. And it says, hi, Stephanie, I wanted to send this to you personally, as after reading your tips for working with tenants during this current climate, me and my team adapted and implemented your advice and saw a tangible effect almost immediately. Okay. I went on to say, firstly, a tenant who had been a persistent procrastinator. We had one particular tenant who likes to pay late, likes to not pay, etc., and then always has to make up 3-4 months rent, which was very annoying. Firstly, a tenant who had been a persistent procrastinator in regards to payments paid instantly after our email, and then later we saw other residents in our properties reach out to us. Okay, I'm going to keep going and read the rest of what I wrote. I'm grateful for the service you offer the community of property investors, as well as the gems that you share for us all to benefit from. A true pleasure being connected with you, Samuel, ICanWin, ICanWin. Now, those of you who have been attending my networking event for a number of years, you would know Stephanie's been a guest at the Canary Wharf Pin before. Stephanie, I would say, is a friend. Okay, we haven't known each other for very long, but we've become acquainted, we've become friends. And the funniest thing is, I sent that to her, and I sent her an audio message straight after. I said, look, Stephanie, use that testimonial anywhere you want, because I really appreciate what you did. And just to give you a snapshot, what I'd want you to do, because I want Stephanie to get her kudos on this, if you're going to use the same framework, go and find that framework online. Stephanie Taylor's who you need to search. Facebook is probably the platform it will be on, and then just utilize it to the best of your ability. But long story short, what we did is we sent out an email to every single one of our tenants in our portfolio, and we basically indicated that they needed to apply in order to have any payment adjustments on their rent during this period. And in the application, we added in a number of things which Stephanie didn't even mention, but we thought would be added deterrents in order to stop tenants doing that. Now, if you'd like me to let you know what a number of those things were which we added, what I'd like you to do in the comments is just write the comment, give us the value. Give us the value. So you guys write, give us the value. And what I'll do, if I get enough give us the values, I will let you know exactly what we added in our application form to our tenants, which for us made us feel like, yes, guaranteed these tenants are not going to mess around after this. So yeah, Yogesh, any other thoughts in terms of that? Has that been helpful?
That's definitely helpful, yes. The final thing is, if I could just pay someone to take this headache away from me, I probably would.
Say that again. When you say take their headache away from you, what do you mean by that? Because that means different things to different people.
The mission would be, go and find me some new tenants or a new company to let the house. Just make sure it's reasonably market rent. I don't want to talk to the tenants anymore, and I'll vet the new company, but that's as much involvement as I want.
Okay, so I've got
then,
two.
Then I don't, because I don't want to deal with the emotional things with the current tenants. I think that's what it is about for me.
Okay. So I'm gonna do this for you. Okay, I'm gonna ask a few more questions, which are gonna be helpful in order to move us forward on this. First thing.
Okay, great.
Which area is the property in?
Croydon.
All right, so the property is in Croydon. Okay, now, because the property is in Croydon, next thing I'm going to ask you is, are you looking for someone to take over the property on a guaranteed rent? Or are you just looking for someone to do effectively what we call in the property world a tenant finding process for you? Because there's a blurry line currently in between what you're actually looking for. Are you looking for someone to get rid of the tenants, do the whole process, plus find you some new tenants, or are you looking for someone to get rid of the tenants and take over the property and pay you a guaranteed rent? What are you looking for?
So as long as I get 3,000, I think the market rent's 3,300 in my bank account every month, I'm happy.
Okay, that's great. But listen to this, okay?
Yeah.
Any landlord who knows they're going to be working with a rent to renter or someone offering a guaranteed rent would also know that there needs to be something on the table. Okay, and I'm being very transparent. Like, there needs to be something on the table. Now, the reason I'm saying this, I've got a good friend who's just jumped in the comments and said, I'll give you a guaranteed rent all day long. Okay, Mr. Prince Anno from Anno Properties, shout out to you. Great to see you on. Now, Prince is saying he'll give you a guaranteed rent all day long. Okay, now this is the issue. Okay, before you connect with Prince and say to Prince, yeah, take my property, if the market rent for a 6-bedroom HMO is £3,300 and someone's going to give you a guaranteed rent of £3,300, the question is, where did they make money? And this goes back to what I was talking to you about earlier when we spoke about the emotion, about understanding what you're really looking for. Now, the reason I'm saying that is this. I have a property in my portfolio which is a rent to rent. Okay, this particular property, if I'm going to be totally honest with you, and this is me being so transparent, I think I like this property more than probably any other property in my portfolio. Okay, does it make me the most amount of money every month? No. Okay, why do I like it the most? I like it the most because the landlord, whenever he speaks to me, he's a bit of an interesting character, but whenever he speaks to me, he always shares one fact. He says, if you are not making money on this, then you're not going to put any effort into this. Okay, and I'm sharing this with you, Yogesh, because a lot of us go to networking events. I host one with over 100 people every month. A lot of us go to property training courses. A lot of us go and see gurus, hurus, and sometimes never durus. Okay, but the reality with all of this that I really want you to be aware of is this. If you know you're giving your property to someone on a guaranteed rent, you should also know that if they're not making any money from your property, they are not going to take care of your property. Your property is just going to be another property in their portfolio. Now, because of this, landlord I was speaking about knows that I am going to make a healthy margin or a margin every single month. He knows I'm going to take care of his property. Okay, and he knows my team will do whatever we need to do to make sure everyone in that house is happy. He has no stress. He has no problems. We have no stress. We have no problems. So I want you to think about that. Okay, I'm not saying giving it on a rent to rent is bad or good. What I'm saying is think about if you were in the rent to renter's position. Like, would you guarantee someone 3,300 when the most you could get for that property is 3,500, 3,600, even 3,300? Because you said that's the market rent. How are they going to pay the bills?
Yeah.
How are they going to do anything? How are they going to, there's not £1. If you ask for market rent, there's not £1 profit for the rent to renter, and there's not £1 for the bills to be paid. Okay, guys, if you're doing rent to rent as a strategy and you understand what I'm talking about, write in the comments, I understand. Okay, so I'm sure you understand what I'm talking about, Yogesh. Okay, because you've gone to networking events, you've heard people about, talk about rent to rent. So as an end user on rent to rent, whether that's a tenant or a landlord, in this case, a landlord, you have to be aware that there has to be money in it for the middleman. The more money there's in it for the middleman, the better the middleman's going to take care of you. Why is that true? Because potentially the more money there's in it for you, the more money you'll take care of someone else. Okay? Because money helps people make decisions. Okay? It's not that it should or it shouldn't, but it's just the way the world works to a degree as well. Okay? So I want you to think about that, Yogesh, as you jump off the call. I just want you to keep that in mind. Okay? Like, ask yourself, okay? Like, do I want, again, going to the question earlier, do I want the most amount of money, or do I actually want someone to really take care of my property? So in 5 years' time, when our contracts, over, our guaranteed rent contracts are over, I got enough money to pay my £800-900 mortgage every month. I got enough money to walk away with a healthy profit and say, look, if I put it simply, if you're walking away with 2,300, you're probably in a very good position on a month-to-month basis, especially if you was letting out the house for 1.5. Okay, I don't know your cost, your inlay to work out your return on investment on it. We haven't gone that deep into the numbers, but these are the things I want you to think about. Like, where is your figure? Same question I asked Abina. What's your investment threshold? Same question for you. What kind of return on investment are you trying to make? Okay, because if you just want to go for the most, great, go for the most. but you're going to limit who can potentially rent your property. And if you're going down the rent to rent route, it goes back to what I was saying earlier, where you might have some challenges in terms of who's actually taking care of your house. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does.
Hopefully that's helpful. And I look forward to catching up with you again in the future, Yogesh.
Thank you so much.
Excellent. You're welcome. And thanks for calling in. We really do appreciate you, Yogesh, and every other person who calls in to the Impact Show. It's great to have callers and it's great to help you guys. Now, I'm going to share something with you guys. Okay. I'm going to share something with you guys as we go forward. Thank you, Cyril Digimi. I don't know how to pronounce it properly. Let me know, or call in and speak to us so we can know how to pronounce it properly. But thank you to the person who commented really fair and genuine advice. Now, I'm going to go through the comments in a minute, but before I go through the comments, I want to share something with you guys because I want you guys to understand, partly, I guess I'm just adding more value in terms of what I shared with Yogesh. Now, I haven't seen anyone write "I understand" in the comments, so I guess nobody who's on this live show is doing rent to rent. But like I've said earlier, hit like, okay? If you haven't hit like, okay? If I've given any value in this live stream, in this show today, hit like, okay? That's the least you can do to tell YouTube, Samuel ICanWin's giving value here, okay? And also show other people on the stream that you like this content. Secondarily, hit subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, okay? So we can become a community where when we're going live, we'll let you know, you'll hit the bell notification, and that notification will pop up and let you know we're going live. And all of our videos every Monday will come straight to you. And last but not least, share the video. I know we've only got maybe a few minutes left, but share the video because the content is valuable not only for you. Don't be the kind of person who's selfish with good content, all right? Don't be that person, okay? Because I'm not that person, so don't do that. All right, now, here's the added value I wanted to give you guys about this, okay? Now, my wife will probably be laughing when I start going into this, but this is the reality. I know someone personally, guys, okay, who was giving up their apartment, okay, for rent to rent, okay? And I gave the person some advice. I said, you know what, X, Y, and Z. And you know what the person did? They didn't necessarily listen to the advice. And that's cool because that happens, okay? And you don't have to be stressed about it. You don't have to be upset about it. You don't have to be like, oh. Like, I gave some advice. They didn't take the advice. And what I thought was going to happen, happened. Now, here's where the challenge comes. This person comes back to me later on and says to me, this is what happened. And what happened is what I assumed was going to happen, okay? Because I deal with a lot of people. I coach a lot of people in property. So I have an idea of how people operate and how people move. I don't know everything, guys. I'll say it again. I don't know everything, guys, but I know what I know that I know. So they shared with me, look, this is what happened with the property. In the first 3 months of rent-to-renters taking on their property, they experienced late payments, and then they got a message where effectively they were being told they were not going to get paid on a specific month. Okay. Now, if you own a property that you've signed an agreement with someone that they'll pay you £3,000, £4,000, £8,000 every single month, guaranteed, for the privilege, for the opportunity to use that property for a service apartment or for a HMO, whatever purposes. And after month 1, month 2, they haven't paid on time each month. And then month 3, they're writing you a text message or communication to say to you, you know what, we're not actually going to pay you anymore. Okay. What they actually said, which was interesting, is they're not going to pay for this month. And if the person has a problem with it and they want to take back the property, all they ask is that the person returns their deposit. Okay. And I thought that was ludicrous. Okay. I thought that was ludicrous. Okay. And I said something to the person, which I want to share with you guys, because like I said, I want to add some more value in regards to what I was sharing with Yogesh, because I want you guys to see it from the other side, okay? It's all fair and well when you know how to successfully vet tenants, which is what I was talking to Yogesh about. And if you do that properly, it's the same as successfully vetting rent-to-renters. If you do that effectively, you'd have the right rent-to-renter or tenant in your property in order to guarantee your rent for a period of time, okay? But what happens when this goes wrong? The case study I've just given you is what happens when it goes wrong. You might get late payments, and even worse, you might get non-payment, okay? And then you have to deal with all the aggro in between, okay? Then you have to deal with all of the aggro in between as well. You have to deal with the aggro of communicating with these people who promised you that they'll pay and now they're not paying, which effectively means you're communicating with unethical people. Not only communication, you then have to go through all of these other things with these people, okay? Things which you might never have ever wanted to go through. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is because I said one thing, okay? Hit the like button if you like this content, guys. Hit the share button and also hit subscribe, okay? But I said one thing to the person, which for me was kind of like not an eye opener, but it was a massive thing for me. Okay, I said one thing to the person. And what I said to the person, just for you guys to get this value and to really understand what I'm talking about, I said to the person, if they were late, okay, if they were late for their first 3 months, what do you expect is going to happen for the rest of the period? Okay, what do you think is going to happen? I think we've got a caller coming through. Let me turn that off. What do you think is going to happen for the rest of the contract? Okay, and that's effectively what I said to the person. I said, look, if they were late for the first 3 months, what do you think is going to happen for the rest of the contract? Now, the reason I'm sharing that with you guys is because I want you guys to understand this. I want you guys to understand, if you're giving properties to renters, please bear that in mind. Like, if they're not even going to be on time for the first couple of months, their honeymoon period, okay, with their payments, what do you think is going to happen on a 2-year contract, on a 5-year contract? More late payments, more complaints, more reasons why they can't, rather than reasons why they can. All right, guys. So look, just quickly, if you're getting value from this content, write the word value in the comments. I'm going to go through the comments now, check if we've got any questions. Looking forward to seeing what we have in the comments before we go forward. And as I've said before, I want to say it again for anyone who's jumped on late. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the show. We still got more value in this show, guys, so don't run away. We got much more value for you. I got this ready. Love this. Okay. Guys, like I've said, don't forget to hit like. Don't forget to hit subscribe. Okay. Look, I love this. I want the most money for my properties. I want the best. Excellent. That's right. Yeah, brilliant tip. All right, good stuff. So we've got here, give us the value. Love that. Okay, I gave you the value, so I love that. All right, so Tony has written here, all our tenants have paid their rent to date except one tenant, as we sent them letters setting out the rules and how and where they can get help before the lockdown. Communication is key. Thank you ever so much, Tony Anaka. You're absolutely correct, and I absolutely agree with you. As you guys would have got, you know, the extra value. You said give us the value. I gave you the value about, oh, actually, I just realized give us the value was for something else. I'll give that to you guys in a minute. But yeah, you're absolutely right. As I mentioned about Stephanie Taylor, give us the value, you know, communication is key. Write those emails. All right, I've got here really fair and genuine advice. I appreciate that. Thank you for that comment. What else have we got here? Few other things. I understand. Great value. Okay, I need to give you guys the value because you asked for it. All right, guys, so if you haven't hit like because the value's coming now. If you haven't hit subscribe because the value is coming now. Abina's written here, I can't see where to. Okay, don't worry, someone in the team will let you know about that. Okay, Remy's written, she's a renter. She understands everything I said. Top value. Thank you for that, Remy. Appreciate that. Abina hit the X to close. Excellent. So everyone's giving you the advice there. Okay. How do you vet renters? Okay. Speak to them. Okay. Yogesh has asked the question, how do you vet renters? Speak to them. Have a good conversation with them. Ask them whose properties are they doing already. You know, guys, let me say this to you. You might not believe this, but I'm going to tell you something really, really, really true. Okay. Some of the best renters are people starting out. Okay, some of the best renters are people starting out on their first, second, third rent. Some of the, I'm going to say that again because you do not believe me. Some of the best renters you will ever have paying you a guaranteed rent are ones who do not even have a rent property yet. Okay, do you know why? Because you, if you're wise, get to set the standard, okay? And when you understand that concept, you will start using this to take massive action. Some of the best renters are brand new renters, people that don't even know much about what is expected from the landlord. Now, they might know all of the things. They might have gone on all the right courses, so they might understand all the legislation, etc. But you can work with them, mold them, get them to become the kind of renter you want to be a perfect rent-to-rent. Excellent. All right, cool. So love that. Lots of comments in here. Take up trade reference. Ask them for current landlords have dealt with previously. Excellent. So Tony's given a few ideas on how you can actually vet rent-to-renters. And, you know, we've got here value, absolute value. Excellent. Guys, thank you so much for the value. Thank you so much for the great value. And also, what comment was it earlier on? The give us the value. Here's the value. The extra things we added to our application form. Okay, the extra things which we added to our application form for each and every one of our tenants, which was to encourage them to think about requesting a payment plan, and B, was to give us adequate information on whether we would agree to a payment plan in the current climate, were 3 things. Okay, I'm going to share with you these 3 things. The first thing was relevant bank statements. Okay, so we created an application form with a bunch of questions on it. Okay, some of those questions were, how has COVID affected you, etc., like all of the common questions. Okay, but then we had 3 fields which they had to submit documents, and these were the 3 documents. The first one was bank statements. Okay, if someone's getting value from this, just write the word value in the comments. The first one was submit your relevant bank statements. Okay, the second thing we asked them to submit was pay slips. Submit your relevant pay slips. If someone's getting value, write the word value. And if you haven't hit like. The third thing we asked them to submit was a letter from their current employer, okay, which stipulated how COVID was having an effect on them. Okay, 3 documents which we added and requested to be submitted at the end of our application form for them to request a payment reschedule. Okay, or a payment plan. Okay, so guys, I want you to understand that there are ways you can structure things in your favor. Because look, I'm going to tell you this so transparently. Okay, and if you are not getting value from this video, guys, I don't know what you're looking for out here in property. Okay, if I can sit down with a tenant's bank statements, with a tenant's pay slips, and with a tenant's record from their employer stipulating what COVID has done from the employer's perspective, okay, then I can make a clear judgment decision around whether or not I'm going to entertain a request for a payment plan, okay? And I hope that makes sense to you, okay? Because what a lot of people are doing is they might write an email and say, oh, look, this is what's going on. Like, you know, Tony alluded to this in the comments earlier. You know, you might communicate, but the key is what you communicate. Okay, and this is why coaching, having a coach, all of these things make a difference. Like my coaching clients are asking me questions like this. I'm giving them these answers, but not only giving them these answers, I'm coaching them into their own answers. Because right now, I want them to win. And the only way they're going to win is if they start doing what they need to do in order to move forward. All right, guys. So I want you to be mindful of that. And I can see the comments, value. Amazing. Okay, so guys, they're the 3 documents we asked them to actually submit as well. Okay, we said to them, we would like you to submit your bank statements, which are relevant to this period. Okay, and we left that ambiguous for a reason. Obviously, you can work out why. We then asked them to also submit their relevant pay slips. We left that ambiguous also. You can work out why. And we thirdly asked them to submit a letter from their employer sharing with us what COVID or how COVID has had an effect on them in this particular season. Now, for any of you who want even more value, if you have not read the sourcing blueprint, if you have not got the sourcing blueprint, if you do not know what the sourcing blueprint is, go get your free copy of the sourcing blueprint, okay, which is right here. Okay, link is on the screen. Link is also going to be thrown into the chat. Okay, someone in the team hopefully can do that. Link is also in the description of this video. The sourcing blueprint. Go to the website www.impactproperties.co.uk/sourcing blueprint. Okay, I've seen this comment here. Great value, although they're not even in the game yet. Listen, get in the game. Go get the sourcing blueprint. That will get you in the game. Okay, because when you understand what I break down in that simple ebook, you will also understand that you can make things happen in your property journey right now. Okay, so that's a free resource for you guys. Anybody who's interested in that, go get the sourcing blueprint. Okay, go get the sourcing blueprint, add that to your portfolio of your reading list right now in lockdown, and make sure you utilize that to move forward in your property journey. Now, who wants more value before we jump off tonight? Who wants more value? Okay, because if you want even more value, I spoke at the beginning of the live show today about a webinar I'm going to be running, absolutely brand new webinar, absolutely brand new content. This content is so brand new, I have not even put the slides together yet, okay? And you guys know what it means when Samuel ICanWin has not yet even put the slides together. It means it's going to be fire, okay? Now, the core content of the webinar I'm going to be running on Monday at 8 p.m. is all about creative control. Okay, now just before the lockdown happened, I was working on a presentation that I was going to go around the UK and start sharing. Okay, and I'm still going to do that. Okay, and that presentation is called Controlling Property Using Paper. Okay, controlling property using paper. But what I'm going to be doing right now, okay, as a direct byproduct of the fact that people are on lockdown, and I see this as one of the greatest opportunities for people to move forward in their property journey, what I'm going to be doing right now is running a webinar on Monday because of a coaching client I had on a coaching call this week where they basically said to me, Samuel, you need to just give us the keys. Let us know what to do. So what I'm going to be doing on Monday, you can see in the description of this video, okay? I don't know if I can get the link. I can probably get the link for you guys as well. If you want the link, write in the comments, link. Let me see the word link. If I see the word link enough, I will send you the link in the comments right now. But I'm going to be running a webinar on Monday at 8 p.m. In that webinar, I'm going to be going through how you can creatively control properties using paper right now in this current climate. Okay, I'm going to be sharing with you guys a minimum. I don't even know if I want to start putting numbers on this, okay? I don't even know if I want to start putting numbers on it. But long story short, I'm going to be sharing with you multiple ways, multiple strategies that you can start moving forward right now, controlling properties. All right. So Tony's just asked in the comments, could he have the link for the book? The Sourcing Blueprint book link is there. It's just above impactproperties.co.uk/sourcing blueprint. And the webinar link has just been thrown into the chat as well because I saw the comments saying link. All right. So guys, the link is in the description. The link is in the chat. Jump on that link, www.impactproperties.co.uk/live webinar, and get yourself registered for our webinar on Monday. That webinar is going to be absolute fire. If you do not think it's going to be absolute fire, don't register. But if you know it's going to be absolute fire, make sure you register. This has been an amazing show. I've really looked forward to today. Just as a heads up, go watch this video if you haven't seen this video already, why they're rich and why they're poor. That video will give you a key to one of the big things that we're looking at right now. And after watching that video, go watch the video just down here in order for you guys to get even more value. If you haven't hit like. If you haven't hit subscribe, hit subscribe. If you have not hit share. Samuel ICanWin. I'm out of here.